Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We're really excited to be here. Very relevant and timely topic. My name is Laurie Keith. I'm the Vice President of Emerging Media and Technology at the Ad Council. The Ad Council is a 80-year leading nonprofit that uses the power of communications to tackle the most pressing issues in society. We do that by convening a network of partners across the marketing industry, from creative agencies, media companies, tech companies, creators, and they help us get these critical messages to the public. Our mission is to create a society that thrives, and that's really the purpose of our conversation today and what we're going to be diving deep. We're going to be talking about the power of driving business growth while also creating societal change. We are going to be talking about two very relevant campaigns dealing with wildfire prevention and climate, which our thoughts and hearts
can't get more topical than what's going on
go
now,
out to those impacted in California right now. And I couldn't be more honored to be sharing the stage with Randi Stipes, the CMO of Weather, who really, in your DNA throughout your career, has this in her ethos to really drive business growth while also thinking about how the company can stand for purpose and drive societal change. So Randi's also our board member. She's a fierce advocate for the Ad Council, and I'm just so excited to be having this conversation with you today. So Randi, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at Weather, this ethos of why you think it's so important for businesses to align with purpose?
Yeah, thanks for the kind introduction, Laurie, and good morning, everyone. So first of all, I lead marketing and communications for the Weather Company. For those of you not familiar with the Weather Company, you are probably familiar with our consumer business and our flagship consumer brand, which is the Weather Channel. Hopefully you all have the Weather Channel app on your phone. That's the only shameless plug I will do here today. It's not what we're here to talk about. But we have a large megaphone. We have more than 360 million people who rely on us every month for weather information. Certainly in times like we're seeing right now in the most extreme events, but given weather's influence on people's lives, even during a sunny day, and given all of the influence that weather has on so many of the decisions that we make, we have a large audience that relies on us for trusted and accurate information. And we have a longstanding mission, which is to instill confidence, to drive decisions, and propel the world. And part of that mission is ensuring that we are using our megaphone responsibly, and we're using it also to amplify causes that align with our mission to give people the information, not just about their everyday weather, but about their climate, certainly about wildfires, which we'll talk about here today. It's not only in my DNA, it's in our company's DNA that we're using that megaphone to amplify things that are important.
I love that. It's you really care about the audience that's on your platforms.
They come first.
So I think a great place to start is to talk about the work. And I know we're going to dig into our incredible partnership that we did with Smokey Bear. Mm-hmm. But I think before we start with that, I think it's important to focus on what's happening right now in California. If you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, Mother Nature is always surprising us. Weather is predictable, I always like to say, but it is becoming more volatile. Before I specifically get to what's happening in California, 2024 will likely be the hottest year ever recorded on record. And that's a trend that will likely continue. The World Economic Forum has named severe weather as the world's greatest risk. It's, absolutely kind of mind-boggling, the fact that we can no longer rely on these seasonal norms with weather. And bringing that to what's happening now in California with the wildfires, I will preface this to say I am not a meteorologist. However, I did consult one this morning to make sure that I had my facts straight. And the phenomenon that's happening right now in California, and why wildfire prevention is more important than ever, is that California for the last 2 years has had an abnormal amount of rain, which under normal conditions would be a great thing, that the state was in a state of drought. But all of that rain has caused growth and vegetation. And when you combine that with the other extreme that we're seeing, that over the past 7 to 8 months, there's actually been tremendous drought. There has been no rain. You take those conditions and you add really high winds to the mix, and the only way that I can think of to describe it is a tinderbox just waiting to happen. And so Smokey Bear, which we'll talk about, and we'll show the legacy of Smokey over 80 years, since Smokey just celebrated his 80th birthday. The message of Smokey and the work that the Ad Council is doing is more vital than ever, case in point, given what's happening in California. And if any of you are personally affected or you have friends and family, my thoughts and prayers go out to them.
Yeah, and I know you're from California. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so this is, sadly a way of life for us in California. So hopefully everyone is okay.
Let's look at the work, though. We're going to turn this around a little bit. It's not going to all be somber, but hopefully, we'd be remiss not to acknowledge it. Yes.
This is why the Ad Council does the work that we do. So Smokey Bear, I'm sure everyone has heard of him, unless you've been living under a rock. He is one of the most enduring American icons in advertising history. Last year, he turned 80 years old, so it was a very big year for Smokey. And so it was really important for us at the Ad Council to identify partners where we could go deep and wide and develop custom content that can reach, the audiences with this critical message to help prevent wildfires in America. So weather, longstanding partner of the Ad Councils, we knew that this was an awesome opportunity for us to come together, really expand our tactics. And so we're going to show you a couple slides here.
Can we go back? Look at how cute Smokey is. Look at baby Smokey.
This is baby Smokey. He was saved from a wildfire in 1950 in New Mexico and ended up in the National History Museum in DC. And while he's not the real Smokey, he's our living symbol of Smokey Bear. 80 years. And he also was one of the first campaigns that the Ad Council had on our docket when we were founded as a company. So he's been around for a long time. But yes, let's talk about our partnership with weather. If you go to the next slide, we developed a 360 partnership, really expanding our tactics, developing custom creative content that ran across your apps, web pages, social, and maybe you can talk a little bit about how we developed this dynamic creative to kind of shift with the forecast of the day.
Yeah, sure, I'm happy to. So as a longstanding partner with the Ad Council, it's really easy for us to just provide ad inventory. I kind of look at that as table stakes. And we're always going to do that. We'll talk more later about some of the other causes and campaigns. But when we're talking about something like wildfire prevention, we felt like we had an opportunity to go one step deeper, because it's not certainly important to support, it was important to support the Ad Council, but it's so authentic to our audience. This was really good organic content that we knew would benefit our audience. And so what you're actually looking at here, I'm going to get tactical for a minute, but what you're looking at here is this is the first screen that someone sees, that you would all see when you pull up the Weather Channel app. And it is a really organic placement for us to insert brands. This is usually a paid placement. But we wanted to do this in partnership with the Ad Council to make sure that Smokey was front and center in a way that felt organic and authentic to the message. And what's really interesting is that this creative changes depending on someone's local weather. So it just makes the experience that much more native, that much more organic.
And who doesn't want to get a message from Smokey when you open up your weather app? So if you go to the next slide, I think what was so unique about this partnership is we flew a team, cross-functional team, worked across social media, marketing, comms at both Weather and Ad Council, and flew a team to Tennessee where we had a party for Smokey, of course, but also worked with the local forest rangers and local experts there to film 6 editorial videos talking about how to drown out a fire, wildfire prevention tips, that if you go to the next slide, I talked about this 360 campaign. We ended up taking that content and ran it across social, the Weather's homepage, Weather app, And so really made sure that the content that we were creating together went across Weather's suite of products. I think there's the next slide. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I think this is just a few example posts on social. So in addition to taking the content across our owned and operated properties, we have over 16 million followers across social platforms who, again, are looking to the Weather Channel for information not only about their daily forecast, but educational information as well. And so it was actually just really fun and kind of playful while also educational content that we could use to engage them. And I think that's the takeaway with all of this, is that this worked for Weather, this particular campaign, and the reason we were so excited about it, because it feels like a natural extension of our brand. It was a very authentic cause, if you will.
Yes, exactly. And I think the results speak for themselves. We saw in this campaign that we reached 15 million impressions. We drove 160,000 visits to SmokeyBear.com, and we saw a click-through rate of 2 times higher from our previous campaigns, which was 1.09%. So it really underscores, and we see this model work so well at the Ad Council, that when we work with our partners to really develop deep partnerships, custom creative, we see the results speak for themselves, and we see greater impact. So we can't thank you enough for your partnership.
Well, not only was it our pleasure, but there's actually another benefit too that I think is worth touching on, is that when you have a cause that feels so authentic to who you are and your company's brand and your company's mission, it's also such an incredible morale booster internally. To have our employees be part of this work, to have our meteorologists and our marketing team in Tennessee filming the content. We actually did a giveaway. I don't know if you're aware of this. We did a giveaway of kind of some smoky gear for our employees, and really strong employee engagement for people to get kind of vintage smoky swag. There was a lot of internal pride throughout the Weather Company.
Yes, I think employees like to work on social impact campaigns. They like to know that they're going to work and the work that they're doing is making a difference. So we love that. So I also wanted to talk about another blockbuster campaign that Weather launched last year on climate called Weather Kids.
Sure.
Not associated with the Ad Council, but really a testament to your through line to purpose-driven work. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So at the Weather Company, we are fiercely committed to helping people understand the weather. And that sounds very obvious, but let me elaborate. What it means for them today, or whether that can mean planning your week ahead, or understanding what the forecast might be, let's say in year 2050, so that we can determine how to leave our planet in a better place for the next generation. And we were approached by the United Nations Development Program, that's the largest agency within the UN, and the World Meteorological Organization, to participate in an initiative called Weather Kids, where together we enlisted about 40 different kids across the globe, and we had them act as meteorologists to provide the forecast for the year 2050. And share the consequences of what would happen in 2050 if we did not take climate action now. This was not a message geared towards kids. It was kids talking to adults, basically telling us, get your act together because we're the ones that are going to inherit the mess that you've created. And what was really interesting about it, well, a few things that was interesting about it, is that like so many things in our world today, we know that climate is highly political. We stand by the science, and the science is there to tell us that our climate is changing. And I think the one thing that no one can deny is that we want to leave our planet in a better place for the kids. And so it was, I'll talk about the results of this in a minute, but it was kind of these facts, the science combined with the story being told through the lens of children, is what motivated us to participate.
That's awesome.
This actually ran almost as like a live weather report across broadcast, social, digital channels, again, across the globe. We launched this timed with World Meteorological Day last March, and it's a campaign that has continued to live on. And I think a testament to kind of the message and call it the device of including children to deliver the message. It worked. Typically with climate campaigns, like when we do sentiment analysis, we see it's about a 60% favorable sentiment. Again, it can be a very polarizing topic. When we looked at the sentiment analysis for Weather Kids, 93% favorable. Again, hard to ignore Kaylee. And Felicia, her scary mom.
Very happy.
But it gave us the insight that I think if we can find ways to educate people in a way that doesn't feel daunting, that doesn't feel threatening, but provides the facts in a way where it feels relatable and then hopefully actionable. There was a whole series of education and kind of research. It's still available, by the way, on weatherkids.org. That got a lot of attention through the campaign.
I love that. That was awesome. She's so captivating. And, I think Ad Council also deals with this every day, polarizing issues like gun violence prevention, but using that issue in a way to talk to both sides of the aisle. We can all agree that gun violence, being the leading cause of death for children in America, whether you own a gun or not, is an issue.
Case in point, that ran on CNN. It also ran on Fox.
Yes.
So
yes, it's always a challenge to figure out how to provide creative content that reaches both sides. But I think when you can do it well, you can really make a broad impact. So thank you for sharing that. So switching gears, I'm sitting with you today. I'm honored to be chatting with you. I know you have had, in your DNA, how do I drive business growth while also standing for purpose and really kind of attaching your companies to issues that you care about. I think there's a lot of brand marketers in the room today that could really benefit from some of your insights, given your experience and history. So I want to start with, if you're okay, kind of picking your brain around how do you, the weather company, it's a media company, it's a brand, how do you kind of make the decision to align yourself with a social cause campaign, but do it in a way that is authentic to the audience, the business community, and not really appearing opportunistic?
Yeah, well, you just answered your own question. It has to be authentic, number one. Number two, it can't be a marketing campaign. In order for these causes and this work to be effective and to be sustainable, like I always say, it can't be a marketing moment, it has to be a movement, it has to be a company initiative. Yeah. And I like to say, I've said many times, I'm going to continue to say it, I view a marketer's role in an organization, doesn't matter your title, every marketer I think needs to be the conscience and the compass of your organization. We are paid, it's part of our craft, to influence people. Yeah. That influence has to start internally. And I think if, not every company, well, I do think that every company has a responsibility to be sustainable, but this kind of work wouldn't work, around climate with every company. It beautifully aligns with our mission. Yeah. If we're here to propel the world, we first have to protect the world. But find the thing that your company, not just your marketing and your communications team, can authentically and sustainably, in an enduring way, rally behind. That's the way that you're going to get adoption and that it's going to endure. Yeah.
I think that's really important, key to hone in on. And I guess, thinking about that, how do you then look at, okay, we aligned ourselves with this cause, but it's important to also show the metrics of business growth and growth and measurement. And so what's that process for you?
Oh gosh, the age-old brand versus
ROI.
Performance conversation, we're going there. You have to convince people to play the long game. It's as simple as that. You're doing your everyday work simultaneously. This isn't the only work that we're doing. We're a for-profit business.
Yes.
We have to drive audience. We have to drive engagement. So we do that. That's our everyday work. But again, if the cause is authentic, coming in, I think we're seeing that funnel collapse. The high-level brand and company and mission-building work, the metrics will be there to show that in turn, in our case, it will drive audience. Yeah. So the two are very much correlated. And again, going back to the fact that if you make it actually a company imperative, then the onus isn't only on marketing to show that immediate return. It's going to be on every group, and there'll be metrics for every group and collectively coming together to make that difference.
Yeah, well, that's inspiring. And hopefully, you've inspired marketers in the room to, look at this in a similar way.
And find the cause that's important to your CFO also, by the way. That certainly helps. If your CFO is not already your BFF, make that happen.
Yes.
Make sure it's authentic, but get your CFO in your corner.
Yes.
And have her or have him be part of that work and an advocate for it. You get someone personally invested.
Yes.
And metrics always matter, and we hold ourselves accountable for that.
Yes.
But you start to appeal to someone at an emotional level, and you've got them.
Yes. And, employee engagement too, which you honed in earlier, I think is important.
You want me to turn the tables and put the spotlight on you for a minute?
If you'd like to, sure.
I'd be remiss. I am on the Ad Council board, and I would love for you to take a minute or two, Laurie, and talk to the group about what are some of the other platforms beyond Smoky. Smoky will continue to endure and thrive, but beyond wildfire prevention, I think it would be very useful to hear about what are some of the other pillars, what are some of the other causes and strategic priorities for the Ad Council, because there might be people in the room or people listening later who say, wow, that's something that our organization is really passionate about and is germane to our issue, and we'd love to partner. Fill us in on what we can expect in 2025.
Thank you for that question. So we've been around for 80 years. We have a long-standing history of always raising awareness on the most critical issues in America. So that is not changing. When we think about the future, we are focused on 4 pillar initiatives. And those are gun violence prevention, which I alluded to earlier. It's the #1 cause of death for kids in America, and that is just devastating as a mom of a 3-year-old. And I think any parent and non-parent, thinks about this too much. So we are tackling that head on. We have a new campaign called We Agree to Agree that just launched. We also are tackling substance use disorder, 100,000 deaths related to drug overdoses in the last year. So that's also a critical issue, everything that's happening with the fentanyl crisis. Hate and bias, according to the latest FBI data, hate crimes are up significantly. We are a very divided nation. There's a lot of discrimination happening, an increase in crimes, and so that is also something that we're tackling through campaigns like Love Has No Labels, Belonging, our immigrant inclusion campaign, and others. And then lastly, mental health, very critical issue in America. 62% of Americans say that they suffer from a mental health condition. However, more than half of them are not seeking help or treatment. There's also the stigma around mental health, so a lot of these people are not even talking to their closest friends and family about their condition. So we also knew that we needed to tackle this head on. We launched a large mental health initiative in October of 2023 called the Love Your Mind. It's an initiative where we're going to be raising $70 million over the next 7 years. And to kick off that initiative, we launched a campaign called Love Your Mind. Encourage you to check out the website, loveyourmindtoday.com. It is a campaign where we are really aiming to create a more open, accepting, and proactive society when it comes to mental health. We're already seeing great results, 1.2 million visits to our site, as well as 75% of the people that have seen the PSA agree that taking care of their mental health is a strength and something that they should do. So we're really just passionate about these issues. We have a convening network of partners like the Weather Channel that allow us to really kind of build these custom partnerships, secure donated media in order for us to reach the people that we need to reach in the audiences that are impacted by these issues. And we really couldn't do it without leaders like you that really come to the table and say, I'm raising my hand, I want to use our platform to help turn this issue around and really drive impact. So if anyone in the room does not currently work with the Ad Council and you'd love to learn more about how to get involved, please see me after.
I love this notion. You said, love your mind. that is, I think, such a smart reframing to destigmatize mental health. I'm raising my hand around mental health. Fun fact that, or interesting fact, I should say, there's actually a very strong correlation between weather and health, physical health. Yes, more than 70%, I think it's about 76% of people come to the Weather Channel, use the Weather Channel app to manage a health symptom, given the correlation that we see between weather and health, whether that is cold and flu, aches and pains, respiratory issues. My gosh, the air quality that people in California are experiencing is going to be a story that I think we're going to see unfold for months. And mental health, that number actually goes up to about 81%, that weather has a tremendous influence on people's mental health, how they feel, their emotional state. A lot of it has to do with the fact that in certain weather conditions, it's very natural to feel out of control. And that takes the toll. Right now, I'll admit it, like I'm feeling a little out of control. I have family members who have been evacuated in California. It's unnerving. And so I share that only because it goes back to, like, as you outlined those pillars, I'm hopeful that, I'm going to challenge people in the room and those listening, like, if any of those causes authentically align with your company, with your mission, or if you just have donated media, you will not find a better outlet and a better partner than the Ad Council.
Thank you. And I think we just found our next issue that we're going to tackle together.
No shortage of big global challenges that we have to solve.
I love that. And you're so right. Weather and mental health totally align and go together, intertwined. Well, I think that's a great place to end. And I'm so grateful for all of your knowledge and inspiration today. And hopefully all of you were inspired as well. So thanks again.
Thanks, Laurie. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.